Club Brugge and PSG, they tied 1-1. There was a Kylian Mbappe injury. His ankle was bothering him after a collision in the first half. Ander Herrera did score first, but funnily enough, Dre, I thought that going 1-0 down meant that Club Brugge was playing better and actually woke them up a little bit and then ended 1-0. But I want your initial reactions to PSG tying 1-0 with Club Brugge, with that trio that we saw for the first time.
Yeah, I think the headline has to be about Leo Messi, right? Because it's Messi's Champions League debut with Paris. And so if we touch on that first, it looked every bit like Messi had played just 25 minutes with Paris prior to this game. Like someone who's still trying to figure it out, what's around him. I thought his touches were really limited in the first half. And it's curious that it was after Mbappe's injury that Mauro Icardi comes on, that Messi starts to get touches closer to the 18. And that's not because of the quality, comparing Icardi versus Mbappe. I think 10 out of 10 would take Kylian Mbappe over Mauro Icardi, but it's because of the presence of a center forward taking up some of that attention away and giving Messi a chance to arrive closer to the area. So I think it's almost like a barely passing grade for Leo Messi. He did hit the woodwork. He had a good chance late on, but there's certainly better games to come from them. I would say that it's not just that Bruges played better in the opening minutes. I think on the balance of the 90 minutes, Bruges were the better team. They were proactive. They played in Paris's half. They created opportunities, had more shots on target, despite significantly less possession. I think they knew how they wanted to play, and I'm blown away by how courageous and proactive their approach was.
Absolutely 100% correct. I think there's something to be said, Dre Cordero, about the fact that COVID obviously taking away the fans for so long, you could feel that energy of the crowd just like completely intoxicating. PSG, I think, to a point. There is a thing, though, and you were talking about Lionel Messi, and obviously, there were moments, there were flashes, a passable grade. Of course, Kylian Mbappe with a great assist. He was injured, Neymar and stuff. But something that continues to worry me about PSG, and I want to talk about Bruges more because, as you mentioned, they were so great. But there's no midfield, Dre Cordero. I feel like it goes from the back four and it goes straight to that trio. And when Icardi came on as the number 9, attracting that front. But there's nothing in the midfield, and Club Brugge saw that. They pressured PSG the entire time. They gave them a taste of their own medicine, and it was really remarkable to see in many ways. But PSG, my God, and dare I say, sometimes a little boring.
It reminds me, I was thinking back to the transition that Barcelona went, and follow me on this, but there was a transition for Barcelona from the Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta team that dominated the midfield under Pep Guardiola to Luis Enrique's team with Messi, Neymar, and Luis Suarez, where all of a sudden they realized that they were top heavy, that the point was just to get the ball to the front three as quickly as possible and let those guys create. And I think there's an element of that to what Mauricio Pochettino is doing right now, and why you saw the long balls out of the back. In fact, that worked brilliantly early on. There was that Kimpembe ball to Mbappe, who was isolated in the near side. That creates the goal for Ander Herrera with Mbappe pulling it back. And so I think you're going to see a more direct PSG just by nature of where are your best pieces. If they're your front three, then you need to get the ball there as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, if you're just looking at everything in terms of the game itself, the home side did definitely hold more of their own, and they attacked that left side of PSG, which we have said it already on the pod, that, it's pretty vulnerable. Here's a question to begin with. If PSG don't win the Champions League this season, would it be a catastrophic failure? We asked you, and right now it's 100% yes, shame on everyone involved, and 0% no, they can bounce back next year. What do you think, Dre?
I think that the bar has been set for teams like Paris and like Bayern, and maybe those are the only two where everybody else a little bit diluted, where it is Champions League title or bust in the perception of most fans, right? You're expected to dominate your domestic league if you're Bayern or Paris, especially now Paris adding Leo Messi and other pieces like Hakimi. And so they've put themselves in that situation where it's unreasonable. And we know that no team is obligated to win the Champions League. There are a handful of clubs that have a real chance, and you need the ball to bounce your way in the knockout stages. We're a long way away from getting to that. But there are teams like Paris and like Bayern that are going to be judged on basically 4 games all season, 4 or 5 games. And those games all come a lot closer to May than where we are right now. So yeah, I think most people will tell you that if PSG don't win the Champions League, it'll be a failure only because they're expected to win literally everything else that they play.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, a shout out to Hans Vanaken. 4 goals in 7 matches, all competitions this season. He was tremendous. You have to give them credit. And final words on this game before we move on, Dre. What else did you pinpoint? Did you see from this draw?
Yeah, so if I could just highlight just how courageous Bruges were. They didn't sit in a low block. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of possession, but they were in a mid-block, basically, really compact lines. And so when they won the ball back, they could arrive with numbers. It wasn't just counterattacks where players like Vanaken were completely isolated with nothing around them. In fact, they had the pieces to try and triangulate to get past PSG. And I thought that's a really clever approach from the smaller team, the underdog, against giants like Paris. And I hope, I have my fingers crossed that more of the underdogs going forward take similar approach, take sort of courageous, proactive approaches against the big hitters. Yeah, it may backfire spectacularly, or you may give fans, like they did today, the show of their life. Because every time that the camera panned to the stands and the crowd in this match, you just saw happy faces who looked like they were in absolute disbelief at the way that their club was, not just the result, but the way they were playing against Paris Saint-Germain. And then the other little point I would give here is that Messi did not play particularly well. Yes, he's going to need some time to sort of adapt to what's around him. But what really surprised me is how poor his passing was. To see a game in which Messi had about 74% pass completion in the opposition's half is ridiculous, right? Because you think he's going to be picking out those passes brilliantly. And so I think he's still sort of learning the names of some of the players on his squad, and we'll see much better things to come from him.
I think Marco Verratti was severely missed today in one way. What was the biggest upset to you, Young Boys or Club Brugge?
Probably, that's a really hard pick, right? I think it has to be Young Boys because they actually got the win. And you know what? Just because it gives us a chance to shout out Jordan Pefok for a 95th minute game winner of the U.S. Internationals doing things in big stages.